Welcome to Night Whisper. Night Whisper brings you the darkest tales from the shadows. Join our community. Subscribe, leave a like, and prepare yourself for stories that will haunt your dreams. I should have known it on day one, since they hired me right away. There would be no interview. There would be no background investigation. It would simply be a handshake and the transfer of some keys. The manager himself, a tired-appearing man with the name Roger, seemed almost glad to see me come out from behind the door. The man likely was in his 50s, perhaps no more than late 40s, with deep-set creases in his weathered face and an exhaustion that settles in a man's bones. A man's bones, where it will always do a certain type of harm to the man before his time is finished. He asked, before I could even say hello, "You want night shift?" "Oh, sure," I said. "The graveyard shift is all right, anything." He almost shoved the keys at me. He shook slightly with his hands, and naturally at the time, maybe that could have been a tremor? A medical condition? Well, I think I do now. One thing start tonight, 11 to 7. The gas station has been around for 40 years. It has never been robbed. You'll be fine. That's when the alarm bells should have started ringing in my head. A gas station right off the desert highway that is open 24/7, and they've never, ever been robbed. I'd worked retail before. Convenience stores, fast food joints. Every single one had been hit at least once, some multiple times. A place this isolated, this vulnerable, should have been a magnet for trouble. But I needed the money desperately. My apartment's rent was 3 weeks overdue, and my landlord had stopped accepting excuses. I had $47 in my bank account and a car that was one bad day away from dying completely. My phone was shut off. My credit cards were maxed out. So I took the job. I told myself it would be temporary, just until I got back on my feet. A few months at most. I was so incredibly stupid. Roger showed me around for exactly 15 minutes. The tour felt rushed, like he couldn't wait to leave. The register was ancient but functional, one of those old mechanical ones that made a satisfying ding when you opened the cash drawer. The coffee maker was older than I was, all chrome and glass with stains that looked permanent. The bathroom had a lock that needed to be forced, the mechanism catching on something inside the door frame. "Stock's in the back," Roger said, gesturing vaguely toward a storage room I could barely see. "Keep the coffee fresh. Don't let anyone steal. Easy night." He was already heading for the door. "Wait," I called after him. "What happened to the last person? Why'd they quit?" Roger paused with his hand on the door handle. For a moment, I thought he wasn't going to answer. "He quit," he said finally. "But why?" "Didn't say. Didn't give notice. Just left the keys on the counter one morning and never came back." "That's it? No explanation?" Roger turned to look at me. His eyes were hollow, empty in a way that made my skin prickle. "Some people aren't cut out for night work," he said. "You'll be fine. Just follow any instructions you find, and you'll be perfectly fine." Then, he was gone, and I was alone. The gas station sat at mile marker 167 on Highway 94, surrounded by nothing but sand and scrub brush, stretching to the horizon. The nearest town was 30 miles in either direction. During the day, you'd see a car every 10 or 15 minutes. At night, it could be hours between customers. The building itself was small, maybe 800 square feet total. 3 aisles of snacks and drinks, a coffee station, a bathroom in the back, a stockroom behind the register, 4 security cameras covering the lot. Outside, there were 6 gas pumps under a metal awning. Fluorescent lights hummed and flickered. The desert night pressed against that small island of illumination like something physical, like something with weight and intention. I spent the first hour familiarizing myself with the register and restocking the chip aisle. The work was mindless, automatic. I'd done this kind of job 100 times before. A few truckers came through around midnight, paid for gas and coffee, barely made eye contact, left without conversation. One of them, an older man with a gray beard, paused at the door. "First night?" he asked. "Yeah, how'd you know?" He looked at me for a long moment. "You don't have the look yet." "What look?" "The one they all get after a few nights, the one that says they've seen something they wish they hadn't." Before I could ask what he meant, he was gone. I told myself he was just messing with the new guy. Truckers had strange senses of humor. That was all. Around 1 in the morning, I noticed the notebook. It was tucked behind the register, spiral-bound with a black cover. Someone had written "Read this" on the front in thick, permanent marker. The letters were pressed so hard into the cardboard that they'd left indentations. I almost didn't open it, almost tossed it in the trash. But curiosity won, like it always does. The first page had 5 rules, written in neat, careful handwriting. The kind of handwriting you learn in elementary school and never quite shake. Palmer method, my grandmother would have called it. Rule 1. Never acknowledge the woman in white who stands by pump 4 after 2 a.m. Don't look at her. Don't speak to her. Pretend she doesn't exist. Rule 2. If someone asks for directions to Ridgewood, tell them to turn back. Do not give them directions. Do not tell them Ridgewood doesn't exist. Just tell them to turn back. Rule 3. The bathroom door must stay locked from 3 a.m. to 3:33 a.m. Set an alarm. Do not open it for any reason. Do not listen to what's inside. Rule 4. If the lights flicker 3 times in a row, go to the back room immediately and don't come out until sunrise. Bring water. Bring your phone. Don't look through the door window. Rule 5. Never, under any circumstances, look at what's watching you through the window. Below the rules, in different handwriting, shakier, more desperate, someone had scrawled, "I thought they were a joke. They're not. Follow them or leave. I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. If you're reading this, leave too. Just leave." That must have been the previous employee. I flipped through the rest of the notebook. Most of it was empty, but here and there I found other notes, different handwriting each time. Day 17, saw the woman in white for the first time tonight. Didn't acknowledge her. She stood there for 43 minutes. I timed it. Day 32, someone asked about Ridgewood. I told them to turn back. They got angry, really angry. Their eyes changed. I locked the door until they left. Day 9, the bathroom. Oh God, the bathroom. Whatever's in there sounds like my daughter, but my daughter is safe at home. I called to check. It's not her, it's not her, it's not her. Day 61, last night. Can't do this anymore. The thing at the window. I saw it looking at me. Can't unsee it, can't stop seeing it. It's in my head now. The last entry had no day count, just run. I checked my phone. 1:23 a.m. Outside, the desert stretched into darkness. The fluorescent lights of the gas station created a small island of brightness in an ocean of black. And that's when I realized I couldn't see very far into that darkness at all. The lights created a barrier of glare. Beyond 15 or 20 feet, everything disappeared into absolute shadow. Anything could be out there, watching. I told myself it was fine. First night jitters. I'd worked overnight before at a warehouse back in Phoenix. This was basically the same thing, except warehouses don't have rules about women in white, or things watching through windows. I put the notebook back behind the register and tried to focus on work. A couple more cars came through over the next half hour. Normal people, normal transactions, a woman buying cigarettes, a man getting energy drinks and beef jerky. Everything was fine. Everything was normal. At 1:58, I was wiping down the coffee station when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. 3 soft knocks on the window. I turned, expecting to see a customer, but the parking lot was empty except for my beat-up Honda sitting under the lights. The tapping came again. Same rhythm, same window, same empty parking lot beyond the glass. I walked toward the window, squinting into the darkness beyond the lights. Nothing. Just desert and night and the faint outline of distant mountains against the sky. Then, my phone alarm went off. 2 a.m. I'd set it as a reminder, half joking with myself about the rules. But now, standing at that window with my heart starting to race, it didn't feel funny anymore. I looked at pump 4. She was already there. A woman in a white dress stood perfectly still next to the pump. Her back was to me, her long dark hair hanging past her shoulders. The dress looked old-fashioned, like something from the 1800s, high collar, long sleeves, the kind of dress you'd see in a museum. She didn't move, didn't sway, didn't breathe, just stood there, facing the desert, as motionless as a statue. My hand was on the door handle before I caught myself. Rule 1 said, never acknowledge her. That meant, don't go outside, don't speak to her, don't look at her. But I was already looking. For several seconds, nothing happened. She just stood there, completely still. I started to relax. Started to think maybe this was just someone's idea of a prank, a mannequin or something. Then she turned her head. Not her body, just her head, rotating slowly toward the gas station. Toward me. The movement was wrong. Too smooth, too slow, like it was happening underwater. I couldn't see her face. The angle was wrong, or the light or something. But I could feel her looking back, looking directly at me. My fingers went numb. A cold sensation spread up my arms, into my chest, wrapped around my heart like ice. I forced myself to step away from the door. Back to the register, back to the safety of routine and fluorescent lights and things that made sense. When I looked again, she was gone. The pump stood empty, exactly as it had been before. I checked the security camera monitor. 4 cameras covered the lot from different angles. I rewound the footage to 1:58. The woman wasn't there. Not on any camera. At 2:03, she appeared. Just blinked into existence next to pump 4. One frame she wasn't there. The next frame, she was. At 2:07, I walked toward the door on the footage. She turned her head. At 2:09, she vanished. Same way she'd appeared. One frame there, next frame gone. I watched it 5 times, same thing every time. She appeared. I approached, she turned. She disappeared. The cameras never showed her face, never caught it at the right angle. I spent the next hour nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold and telling myself there was a logical explanation. Reflection, light trick, fatigue, heat mirage carried over from the day. But none of those explanations worked. Heat mirages don't appear at night. Reflections don't move on their own. Fatigue doesn't create shared hallucinations that show up on security cameras. Something had been there, something impossible. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I poured the cold coffee down the sink and made a fresh pot. The routine helped. The familiar sounds, the smell of brewing coffee, the mundane reality of scooping grounds and adding water. Normal things, real things. At 3 a.m., my alarm went off again. Rule 3. I grabbed the bathroom key from the hook behind the register and headed for the single restroom at the back of the store. The door was old wood, painted white, with a small sign that said, "Customers only." The lock was old and temperamental. I had to jiggle the key 3 times before it caught properly. Locked from the outside. 3 a.m. to 3:33 a.m. I set another alarm on my phone and returned to the register. For 14 minutes, nothing happened. At 3:14, someone knocked on the bathroom door, from the inside. Slow, deliberate knocks. 1, 2, 3. I stared at the door from across the store. I'd locked it myself. I'd checked the bathroom before locking it, made sure no one was inside. Empty. Completely empty. The knocking came again. Harder this time. More insistent. Then a voice. Hello? Can you let me out? It sounded like a child, young, scared, maybe 7 or 8 years old. I'm locked in, please. I can't get out. My feet started moving before my brain could stop them. Halfway to the bathroom, I remembered the rule. Do not open it for any reason. Do not listen to what's inside. I stopped walking. Please, the voice called. It's dark in here. I'm scared. I can't find the light switch. I forced myself back to the register, turned up the radio to drown out the sound. Some late-night talk show discussing politics, but I could still hear it. Under the music, under the talk show host's voice, under my own heartbeat. Please, please let me out. Please. The voice changed, got deeper, older. Let me out. Then, it wasn't asking anymore. It was demanding. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Something slammed against the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Again and again. The entire door shook with each impact. I covered my ears, but the sound seemed to bypass them completely, vibrating directly in my skull. At 3:33, it stopped. Just like that. Mid-slam. Complete silence. My alarm went off in the quiet. I unlocked the bathroom door with trembling hands, half expecting something to burst out. Empty. Completely empty. The bathroom looked exactly as it had before. Clean. Undisturbed. The mirror unbroken. The sink dry. No sign anyone had been inside, but on the mirror, written in condensation that hadn't been there before, someone had traced letters with their finger. Thank you for not opening the door. I didn't go near that bathroom for the rest of the night. Dawn came at 6:42. I'd never been so happy to see sunrise in my entire life. I watched it come up over the desert like a gift, like salvation, turning the sand from black to gray to gold. Roger showed up at 7:15, looking surprised to see me still there. How was it? He asked. Fine, I lied. My voice sounded strange, too high, too tight. Previous guy left you anything? I thought about the notebook, about the rules, about the woman in white and the thing in the bathroom and all the handwritten warnings. No, I said. Nothing important. He nodded slowly, studying my face, looking for something. You'll be back tonight? I should have said no, should have handed back the keys and walked away right then. But rent was still due, and part of me, the stupid, stubborn part, wanted to prove I could handle it. Yeah, I said. 11 p.m. Roger almost smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Good. That's good. Just remember, follow any instructions you find. Don't deviate, don't test them. Just follow them exactly. Then he left. I went home, slept fitfully through dreams of white dresses and bathroom doors, and came back that night. The second night started quietly. Same routine. Stock the shelves. Make fresh coffee. Wait. At 2 a.m., the woman in white appeared at pump 4. I didn't look at her directly this time. Kept my eyes on the register, on my phone, anywhere but the window. She stood there for 23 minutes exactly, then vanished. At 3 a.m., I locked the bathroom. At 3:14, the knocking started. This time it sounded like an old man, wheezing, coughing, begging to be let out. I turned the radio up loud and didn't move until 3:33. By the third night, I'd almost convinced myself this was normal, just part of the job. Weird, yes. Unsettling, absolutely. But manageable. I was handling it. But that night, someone asked about Ridgewood. He came in around midnight. Middle-aged guy, nice car, expensive watch, business casual clothes. Everything about him screamed normal, successful, ordinary. "Excuse me," he said, approaching the register with a friendly smile. Can you tell me how to get to Ridgewood? I felt my stomach drop. Rule 2. Tell them to turn back. You should turn back, I said carefully. His smile faltered slightly. What? No, I just need directions to turn back. Go the other way. Look, I'm just trying to find... Turn back. My voice came out harder than I intended, sharper. Now, you need to turn back right now. The man's expression shifted. Confusion became annoyance, became something else, something cold, something that didn't belong on a human face. I see, he said softly. His friendly demeanor evaporated like water on hot pavement. He turned and walked toward the door with slow, deliberate steps. But before leaving, he looked back at me. His eyes were completely black, not dark brown, not dilated pupils, solid black from edge to edge like pools of ink. You'll slip up eventually, he said. His voice had changed too, layered now, like multiple people speaking at once. They always do. They always break one of the rules. And when you do, we'll be waiting. Then he was gone. I checked the security cameras. His car was already gone, like it had never been there. I rewound the footage. At 11:59, the parking lot was empty. At midnight exactly, his car appeared next to Pump 2, materialized out of nothing. At 12:04, he entered the store. At 12:07, he left. At 12:08, his car vanished. I watched it 10 times. Same impossible thing every time. The fourth night, the lights flickered. I was restocking the cooler around 1:30 a.m. when the fluorescent tubes started pulsing. The steady hum changed pitch, became strained, wrong. Once, I grabbed my phone and a bottle of water from the cooler. Twice, I ran for the back room. The lights flickered a third time as I slammed the door behind me. The back room was small, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet, crammed with boxes of chips and cases of soda. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling. There was a small window in the door that looked out at the main store. Rule 4 said, don't look through it. I sat on a crate marked Doritos, set an alarm for sunrise at 6:42, and waited. For the first hour, nothing happened. I played games on my phone, trying to ignore the cramped space and the thick silence. The kind of silence that seems to have weight, that presses against your eardrums. Then I heard the bell above the door chime. Someone had come in. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving through the store with purpose. The fluorescent lights were still flickering. I could see the strobing effect through the crack under the door. On, off, on, off. The footsteps came closer, stopped outside the back room door. The handle rattled. I know you're in there, a voice said. It wasn't human. The pitch was wrong, like someone had taken a recording of words and played it backward, then forward again, harmonics that shouldn't exist. Come out! We should talk! The handle rattled again, harder. The whole door shook. You're following the rules. That's good. That's smart. But you can't hide forever. Eventually, you'll make a mistake. Eventually, you'll look when you shouldn't. Or you'll open a door you should keep closed. Or you'll forget to lock something at the right time. Something scratched at the door. Long, slow scrapes, like nails on wood. Except nails don't sound quite like that. These sounded sharper, harder. I just want to see your face. Don't you want to see mine? I pressed my hands over my ears, shut my eyes tight, and hummed to block out the sound. Hummed a song my mother used to sing. Anything to fill the silence with something that wasn't that voice. You can't ignore me forever. I'm patient. I've been patient for a very long time. I can wait. Can you? It might have been minutes or hours. Time lost meaning in that small, dark space. The voice kept talking, sometimes whispering, sometimes shouting, sometimes laughing. Always wrong, always inhuman. When my alarm finally went off at 6:42, the voice had stopped. I waited an extra 5 minutes before opening the door. The store looked normal, undisturbed. The lights had stopped flickering. Everything was in its place. But on the door to the back room, there were scratches. Deep gouges in the wood, like something with claws had tried to tear its way through. 5 parallel marks, too long to be human fingernails, too deep to have been made by anything I wanted to think about. That should have been enough. That should have made me quit. But I came back for a 5th night. I told myself I just needed one more paycheck, just enough to cover rent and buy some time to find something else. I told myself a lot of lies that week, and that's when I broke Rule 5. It was 2:30 a.m. Quiet night. The woman in white had come and gone. The bathroom was locked, everything by the book. I was organizing receipts behind the register when I felt it. Someone watching me. It's hard to explain that feeling to someone who's never experienced it. Like pressure on the back of your skull, like the air itself is paying attention. Like being under a spotlight you can't see. I looked up. Through the front window, barely visible in the darkness beyond the lights, something stood at the edge of the parking lot. Tall, very tall, too tall to be a person. The notebook's 5th rule echoed in my mind. Never, under any circumstances, look at what's watching you through the window. I started to look away. My hand was already moving to close the register, to find something else to focus on, to pretend I hadn't seen it. But I didn't. I don't know why. Curiosity, stupidity, the human need to know what's hunting you, the same impulse that makes you look in the mirror at 3 a.m. even though you know something might look back. I looked directly at it. It was shaped like a person, but the proportions were all wrong. Arms too long, reaching almost to its knees. Legs too thin, like they couldn't possibly support that height. Head tilted at an angle that would break a human neck. And it was smiling. I could see that smile even from 50 feet away, even in the darkness. Too wide. Too many teeth. Far, far too many teeth. When our eyes met, something inside my head clicked. Like a lock opening, like a door being forced, like making room for something that shouldn't be there. The thing stepped forward, into the light. I saw it clearly then, saw the face that was almost human, but not quite. Saw the skin that looked like it had been stretched over a frame that was the wrong size. Saw the fingers that ended in points instead of nails. Saw the way it moved. Like gravity was a suggestion rather than a law. It pressed one long hand against the window. The glass didn't crack, didn't shatter. It rippled like water. I stumbled backward, knocking over the coffee pot. Hot liquid spread across the counter, but I barely felt it, barely registered the heat. The thing's smile widened impossibly further. And then it spoke. But not with sound. The words appeared directly in my mind, bypassing my ears entirely, sliding into my thoughts like oil. I've been waiting for you to look. I ran for the back room, but my legs felt wrong, too heavy, like moving through honey, like the air itself was resisting me. You can't follow the rules forever. I knew you'd look eventually. They always do. Curiosity is so wonderfully reliable. I grabbed the notebook, flipped through pages frantically. There had to be something else, some other rule, some way to fix this, some way to undo what I'd done. The last page had a message I'd missed before, written in red ink, fresh, like it had just been added. If you break Rule 5, it can see you now. It can always see you. Wherever you go, whatever you do, once you look, you can never stop looking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Run. Run now. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. But know that it won't matter. It will find you anyway. It always finds them. I looked up. It was inside, standing at the end of the aisle, between the chips and the candy, head still tilted at that impossible angle, smile still stretched across its face, watching me. I ran. Out the door, across the parking lot, into my car, hands shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the ignition, engine on, tires screaming as I floored the accelerator. The thing stood in the middle of the road watching me go, didn't move, didn't chase, just watched. I drove until my tank was nearly empty, pulled into a diner 90 miles away, sat in a booth with my back to the wall, watching the windows. It was in the parking lot, just standing there under a streetlight, waiting. I haven't stopped moving since. I quit the job by phone. Roger didn't argue, didn't seem surprised. He just sighed deeply and said he'd find someone else. "Did you read the rules?" he asked. "Yes." "Which one did you break?" "5. Long silence on the other end. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I really am. It gets them all eventually, every single one. 43 and 15 years, and it got every single one of them. Some last longer than others, but it gets them all." "What is it?" "I don't know. Nobody knows. It's been there longer than the gas station, longer than the highway, maybe longer than the desert itself. All I know is that it needs to be fed. And if I don't keep hiring people, if I don't keep the station open, it comes from me instead." "You're using us. You're sacrificing us to save yourself." "Yes." At least he was honest. "How long do I have?" "Depends. Could be weeks, could be months. Longest anyone lasted was 4 months. She drove all the way to Maine. Thought distance would matter. It doesn't. They found her car at the bottom of a ravine. She'd driven straight off a cliff. But the thing is, she'd been dead for 3 days when they found her. Medical examiner couldn't explain that. Dead for 3 days, but the crash only happened that morning." He paused. "The thing doesn't just kill you. It hollows you out first, uses you, wears you like a costume. By the time you die, you've been gone for a while. You're just watching from inside your own head while it pilots your body." "That's impossible." "Tell that to the thing watching you right now." Then he hung up. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm writing this from a motel outside Tucson. I've been through 7 cities, 12 motels, countless miles of highway. It doesn't matter where I go. Every night, when darkness falls, I see it. Standing at the edge of the parking lot, at the corner of the street, outside my window, just watching. Always watching. Sometimes it's closer than before. Last night, it was in the motel hallway. I could hear it breathing outside my door. Long, wet breaths that didn't sound like lungs, that sounded like something trying to imitate breathing without understanding what breathing actually is. I don't sleep anymore. Can't risk closing my eyes. The notebook was right. Once you look, you can never stop looking, because now it's looking back. I'm writing this as a warning. If you ever take a night job at a 24-hour gas station and someone leaves you a list of rules, follow them. All of them. Every single one. Don't be curious. Don't test them. Don't think you're smarter than the people who came before. And whatever you do, no matter how much you want to know, no matter how badly you need to see what's watching you through the window, don't look. Don't ever look. I looked. Now I can never stop running. Last night it spoke to me again, in my head, while I was lying in bed pretending to sleep. "Soon," it whispered. "Very soon. I'm almost close enough to touch. Almost close enough to reach inside." I packed my bags and left before dawn. I'm in a different city now, different motel, different parking lot. But it's already here. I can feel it watching. I can hear it breathing. And when I finally get tired enough, when I finally can't run anymore, when I finally close my eyes and sleep, I don't know what happens then, but I think I'm about to find out, because I can feel it getting closer. Every night, a few feet closer. Last week, it was at the edge of the parking lot. Yesterday it was by the ice machine. This morning I saw it in the bathroom mirror, just for a second, standing behind me. When I spun around, nothing was there. Tonight, it's right outside my window. I can see its shadow on the curtain. I can hear its fingers tapping on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. The same rhythm as that first night, the same pattern, the same promise. And the worst part? The part that makes me want to scream until my throat bleeds? I can't stop myself from looking. Even now, knowing what happens, knowing what it costs, I can't stop turning toward that window. My hand is reaching for the curtain. I'm about to pull it back. I'm about to see what it really looks like when it's this close. And I know this is exactly what it wants. But I can't stop. I can never stop. Because once you look the first time, you're already caught. The rules weren't meant to protect the gas station. They were meant to protect us from ourselves. From the moment we get curious. From the moment we need to know. From the moment we look. Just like I'm about to do right now. I can hear it breathing through the window, through the glass, through the curtain. My fingers are on the curtain. I'm pulling it back, slowly. The fabric slides through my hands like water. I'm looking. The thing behind the window smiled at me with a mouth that unhinged like a snake's, row after row after row of teeth, and eyes that reflected nothing, that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. I slammed the curtain shut and threw myself away from the window. My back hit the bed and I rolled over it, putting furniture between me and the glass. But I could still see its shadow, still hear its breathing, still feel its eyes on me through the thin fabric. It tapped again, slowly, deliberately. Tap, tap, tap. Then it spoke in my mind. Hello again, I've missed our conversations. I grabbed my keys and my phone and ran for the door, burst into the hallway. Other motel doors stretched in both directions, all closed, all silent. The hallway lights flickered. Once. I remembered Rule 4. Twice. I didn't wait for the third. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, phone flashlight cutting through the darkness. My footsteps echoed too loud in the concrete stairwell. Behind me, I heard the door to my floor open. Heard something enter the stairwell. Heard it start coming down. Not footsteps exactly, more like the sound of something wet being dragged across concrete. I ran faster, took the stairs 3 at a time, burst out into the lobby. The night clerk looked up from his phone, startled. "You okay, man?" I wanted to scream at him, wanted to warn him, but what would I say? What could I possibly say that wouldn't sound insane? "Fine," I managed. "Just leaving." "Middle of the night?" "Yeah, remembered I have to be somewhere." He shrugged and went back to his phone. Outside, the parking lot was empty except for my Honda. The desert stretched dark and infinite in every direction. I got in my car and drove. No destination, no plan, just away. But 3 miles down the highway, I saw it in my rearview mirror, standing in the middle of the road behind me, lit by my taillights. I pressed the accelerator harder. The speedometer climbed, 70, 80, 90. It didn't chase me, didn't need to. Because when I looked at the mirror again, it was sitting in my back seat. I swerved so hard I nearly hit the guardrail. Spun around in my seat, phone flashlight sweeping the interior. Empty. The back seat was empty. But in the mirror, it was still there. Leaning forward. So close I could see every detail of its too long face. Could count the teeth in that impossible smile. Its mouth moved, and that voice slid into my mind. You can't run from something that lives in your perception. I stopped looking at the mirror, kept my eyes on the road ahead, but I could feel it in the car with me, could sense it in every reflection, every shadow, every dark surface that could hold an image. I pulled into an all-night truck stop somewhere outside Phoenix, stumbled into the fluorescent brightness, surrounded by people and noise and light. It couldn't touch me here. Too many witnesses, too much light. Right? I bought coffee I didn't want and sat in a booth trying to think, trying to plan, trying to figure out if there was any way out of this nightmare. The trucker from my first night walked past, stopped, recognized me. "You're the new guy from mile marker 167, he said. "Not anymore. I quit." He sat down across from me uninvited, studied my face. "You broke one of the rules," he said. It wasn't a question. "How did you?" "You've got the look now, the one I told you about, the one they all get. There has to be a way to stop it." The trucker was quiet for a long moment. "There's stories," he said finally. "Urban legends mostly. Some say you have to go back where it found you. Face it directly. Refuse to run. Refuse to fear. But everyone who's tried that is dead or gone." "What else?" "Some say you have to find someone to replace you. Let it take them instead. Transfer the curse, like passing a disease." I felt sick. "I'm not doing that." "Didn't figure you would. You seem like a decent person. That's probably why you're in this mess. The rules aren't there to punish you for being curious. They're there because curiosity is how it gets you. It's how it's always gotten people. The need to know, the inability to leave mysteries alone." He stood up. "I can give you one piece of advice. Don't go to sleep. The moment you do, it'll be there. In your dreams, in your head. And when you wake up, if you wake up, you won't be alone anymore." "What do you mean?" "It doesn't just take you. It hollows you out, uses you like a puppet, wears you like a skin. Everyone you knew, everyone you love, they'll see your face and hear your voice. But it won't be you anymore. You'll just be watching from inside, screaming, while it uses your body to lure in the next victim. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked." He tipped his hat and walked away. I sat there for a long time, coffee going cold, watching other people live their normal lives, wondering if any of them knew how thin the barrier was between normal and nightmare. The fluorescent lights flickered, just once, but it was enough to make my heart stop. I looked around the truck stop, families eating, truckers talking, a teenager playing on her phone. All normal, all safe. But in the reflection of the window I saw it, standing behind my booth, leaning down close to my ear. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, opened them again, and looked straight ahead. Not at the reflection, not at the window, just at the table. "I know you're there," I whispered. The temperature dropped. I could see my breath. "I know you're watching. I know what you are." Its voice slithered into my mind. "Then you know you can't escape." "Maybe not, but I'm not going to make it easy." I felt something like amusement from it. They all say that, in the beginning. I pulled out my phone and started searching. There had to be something, some loophole, some precedent, some way to survive this. I found a blog post from 2 years ago, someone claiming to have escaped the Watcher. I worked at the gas station. I broke the rules. It came for me, but I found a way out. You have to... The post ended there. No more updates, no explanation, no conclusion. I searched for the blogger's name, found an obituary from 6 months after the post, found deceased in home, no signs of trauma, autopsy inconclusive, body positioned in front of laptop, still typing. Final word on screen was help, repeated 847 times. Dead end. Literally. I spent the rest of that night in the truck stop, bathed in light, surrounded by people. But when the sun came up and I walked to my car, I saw it in every shadow, every dark window, every reflective surface, always watching, always waiting. I drove to a library in Phoenix. Spent the day researching every mention of Highway 94, every disappearance, every death, every unexplained incident within 100 miles of that gas station. Patterns emerged. The Watcher took people in stages. Week 1, just watching. Distance, building dread. Week 2, getting closer, testing boundaries. Week 3, entering reflections, invading safe spaces. Week 4, touching their dreams, speaking in their minds. Week 5, following them everywhere, constant presence. Week 6, taking them in their sleep. Final consumption. I was in week 3. That night, I stayed in a motel with no mirrors, covered the windows with blankets, covered every reflective surface I could find, kept every light on. At 3 a.m., someone knocked on my door. Housekeeping? Wrong. It was 3 in the morning. No housekeeping came at 3 a.m. Go away, I called. I have fresh towels. The voice was wrong, too flat, too emotionless. I don't need any. Please, open the door. The voice changed, got deeper, more familiar, more like my voice. I just want to see your face. I just want to see what I look like when I'm wearing you. I heard it walk away down the hall, heard other doors opening, heard it speaking to other guests in their voices, heard someone scream. I grabbed my things and ran, got in my car and drove until my eyes burned from exhaustion, pulled over at a rest stop and passed out with my head on the steering wheel. That was my first mistake. I dreamed. In the dream, I was back at the gas station, standing behind the register. Everything looked normal at first glance, but the details were wrong. The clock on the wall moved backward. The coffee in the pot was black as tar and moved on its own, swirling without being stirred. The fluorescent lights hummed at a frequency that made my teeth hurt. And there were no customers, no cars outside, just emptiness and fluorescent light and silence so complete it felt like being underwater. The woman in white stood at pump 4, but now I could see her face in profile. Pale, too pale, with eyes that were just dark hollows, watching me. The bathroom door was open, and I could see something moving inside. Something that wore the shape of a child but moved all wrong. Joints bending the wrong way, head rotating too far. A man in an expensive suit stood by the candy aisle, asking how to get to Ridgewood. Over and over, the same question, the same smile. Each repetition getting slightly distorted, like a video file corrupting. And through the window, the Watchers smiled at me. "Welcome home," they all said in unison. I tried to wake up. Couldn't. The dream held me like a fist, like fingers wrapped around my consciousness. All the entities from the gas station turned to look at me at once. "You're ours now," they said together. "You looked. You broke the rule. You belong to us. You always have. You just didn't know it yet." The Watcher stepped through the window like it was water, crossed the store in 3 impossible strides, reached out with those 2 long fingers, touched my face. I woke up screaming. I was still in my car at the rest stop. Dawn was breaking. Everything looked normal, but I could still feel where it had touched me. Cold, so cold it burned, like frostbite on my soul. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. For just a second, less than a second, my reflection smiled at me with too many teeth. Then it was just me again. But I knew, I absolutely knew. It was in my head now, not just watching, not just following, inside me. I checked my phone. Week 4. It was in my dreams now, in my thoughts, in my reflection. The trucker had been right. It was hollowing me out, slowly, taking me piece by piece. I had 2 weeks left, maybe less. I drove to the nearest church, walked inside, asked the priest if he could help. He listened to my story with growing concern. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "I can pray for you," he said finally. "But this is beyond prayer. This is something older than faith, older than the church. This is something that was here before we had words for evil. There has to be something. There is one thing. It said that if you face the thing that hunts you, if you refuse to run anymore, refuse to fear it, sometimes it loses power. The fear is what feeds it. The running is what sustains it. Stand still, face it. Maybe it'll lose interest. You want me to just stop? I want you to take away what it wants most. It wants you afraid. It wants you running. So stop. Stand still. Look it in the eye and refuse to give it what it feeds on. I left the church without much hope. But what choice did I have? That night, I checked into a motel and did the opposite of everything I'd been doing. I opened the curtains wide, turned off all the lights, sat in the dark by the window, and waited. It came. Of course it came. Materialized out of the shadows like they were made of the same substance. Stood outside my window, closer than it had ever been. I looked directly at it, met those horrible eyes that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. "I'm not running anymore," I said. It tilted its head, curious. "I see you. I acknowledge you. You've won. So what happens now?" For the first time, it looked confused. "You're supposed to run." "I'm done running." "You're supposed to be afraid." "I am afraid, but I'm more tired than afraid, so here I am. Take me or leave me alone, but stop playing with me." The thing studied me for a long time. Seconds, minutes, hours. Time felt strange. Then it started to laugh. Not the cold, wrong laughter from before. Something else. Almost delighted. "You think you're brave," it said. "You think you've won. You think you found the loophole. Have I?" "No." It pressed its hand against the window. The glass rippled. "You've just made it interesting again. They almost never stop running. They almost never face me willingly. This is new. This is fun. Thank you for that." Then it was gone. I sat in that dark room until sunrise, alone. But I knew, absolutely knew, it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because the priest was wrong. The thing didn't want my fear. It wanted my surrender. And by stopping, by facing it, I'd given it exactly what it needed. I'd invited it all the way in. That was 2 days ago. I'm writing this from a diner in New Mexico. It's following me everywhere now. Not just in reflections, not just in dreams. It walks beside me, sits across from me, whispers in my ear in crowded rooms. Other people can't see it, but I can. Always. Last night it spoke to me for hours, told me things about myself I'd forgotten, memories I'd buried, secrets I'd kept. It knows everything about me now, and I'm starting to forget where I end and it begins. Sometimes I look in the mirror and see its face instead of mine. Sometimes I hear its voice coming from my mouth. Sometimes I can't remember if a thought is mine or if it planted it there. I'm losing myself. Piece by piece, thought by thought, memory by memory. Soon there won't be anything left but the watcher wearing my skin. And then I'll go back to that gas station. I'll stand at pump 4 at 2 a.m., or I'll knock from inside the bathroom at 3:14, or I'll ask someone for directions to Ridgewood, or I'll stand outside the window waiting for the next person to look. Because that's what happens to everyone who breaks the rules. We become part of the place that took us. We become the very things we were warned about. I can feel it happening already. My thoughts aren't quite my own anymore. My desires have changed. I want to go back to that gas station. I want to stand in the darkness and wait. I want to watch the next person break the rules. I want to be there when they look. God help me. I want to smile when they do. This is my last message while I'm still mostly me. Follow the rules. All of them. Forever. Breaking them doesn't just cost your life, it costs your soul. It costs everything you are. When you're hollowed out and filled with something else, standing in the darkness wearing your own face, you'll understand why the rules exist. But by then, it'll be too late. I can feel it now, right behind me, whispering my true name, the name of what I'm becoming. When I turn around one last time and let it take the last piece of me, I'll go back to that gas station, and I'll wait for you. I have to go now. It's calling me back to the desert, back to Highway 94, back to mile marker 167. I'll stand at pump 4 in a white dress with my back turned, waiting for 2 a.m., waiting for someone to acknowledge me. And when they do, I'll turn my head. They'll see my face and understand too late that they should have followed the rules, just like I didn't. If you come to that gas station, if you break the rules, I'll be waiting for you. We all will. The woman in white, the thing in the bathroom, the voice asking for Ridgewood, the watcher at the window. We were all someone once, before we looked. See you soon. At pump 4. Always waiting. Always watching. Always smiling with teeth that go back too far and a hunger that never ends.